So let's get into, the theory part of it is fair. I mean, there. Let's get into the use cases of how we can apply artificial intelligence, neural networks, and all this machine learning and all this jazz that we talked of in our real life. Uh, you know, if you look at the screen, you'll see the one that has a lot of human faces. So the picture in the bottom, the one with multiple faces, it's picked up from Washington Post. It's a part of a Washington Post news report on use of facial recognition in China, where the government is using artificial neural networks technology to identify movement of human beings, identifying where everyone is going. A typical use case is we have is I mean around the globe is I wouldn't get a picture of that because this is security related. It's largely used in US, Middle and many countries in Middle East. Is for identifying potential terror elements or potential criminal elements in crowds, typically large crowds like stadiums, where you have having Indian context cricket, in US context probably baseball or a American some American game event happening. So where there you have a very large crowd. Uh, right next to that image is like in a small test case that I had tried while I was preparing this slide on my own face, where I was trying to randomly predict if a face can be identified and tagged. uh, Another use case of this is finding uh, an object in the road. Typically a lot of cases where we try to identify whether a vehicle is coming, whether typically if you go to Middle East, you'll not find a lot of traffic police around. You don't need to go to Europe or America for that. I mean, Europe and America already has that. In Middle East, you'll not find typically a lot of traffic police around, but they have CCTV cameras, and the cameras record the images. They record your vehicle. They record the speed at which the vehicle is moving or not moving. They detect the lanes, whether the lane was crossed correctly or not. Also, they detect whether the number plate and the numbers on the number plate. So they are accurately able to predict whether you are violating traffic laws. Excuse me, guys. Sorry. Whether you are violating traffic rules while driving on an unmanned traffic crossing, or any part of the road you are violating, say the lane discipline. You are crossing from one lane to another, just jumping from the lane without giving proper signals or anything, or something like that. Or typically if you are tailgating a medical emergency vehicle, that is something again not allowed. So typically in big cities like Mumbai, you will find people tailgating medical emergency vehicles like an ambulance going. You try to you'll see people trying to just follow the ambulance so that they don't get stuck in traffic, but that is typically not allowed. You're not supposed to take advantage of the medical emergency vehicle and exploit the situation. So if you are anywhere in the highway, not even in the on the road in general, if you are not even in a traffic crossing, signal crossing, you can still be detected and a very hefty penalty be sent to you. uh, Another example is to identify logos, images. Typically, say example would be, say you go to a hypercity or a DMart or any kind of mall, uh, shopping, a departmental store kind of a place. You'll see display of, say, Colgate Palmolive or Colgate branded toothpaste and other branded toothpaste also. So as I, a brand manager, I'd always try to have my brand toothpaste being getting a larger display space or a clearer view space. So conventionally, what used to happen is someone used to go. click the photographs of those places, send it back to the central office. People would sit and check whether okay the the brand is getting proper display space or not, and then call back the departmental store and tell them, no, see, the way you are displaying my product is not that good. I'm giving you such high discounts, or else I'll pull off the special discount offer, etc., etc. Even before that, that's when the what I said talked of was when the digital cameras came in. Even before that, it used to be actually pen and paper. You actually have someone write it down on a paper where they see and think of it and send it back to the head office. At the end of the day, with where someone would actually read those papers. Those days are obviously long gone. Now, what the latest thing is, you just click a photo there, it gets uploaded to a cloud system where it gets automatically detected in real time, and you get a real time feedback right on the setup, which tells, okay boss, you have to tell this shop owner or the departmental store manager that, boss, this is not the correct display pattern that we want. If you want to continue with our discount rates or our terms, you'll have to have it in a different way. So this is not a satisfactory thing. So the red flag gets placed right there, and the person who has gone and clicked would again have to click another photograph, which is after the reorientation of the positioning of the say the toothpaste in our use case example. As we said, as we were talking about the the toothpaste example. So the object detection, it's in terminology called object detection. So you're trying to detect the logo as an object in the image, and there is another set of problems that we call image classification, where we try to classify the image as a picture of a dog or a cat or a man or a building, etc. Face recognition is another use case that we have. I mean, not necessarily only government is using it. Anyone using Apple would have a face unlock feature that's based on a technology called FaceNet, which is again based on artificial neural networks, which extracts certain number of features from the face and then tries to match those features against the new face that it gets. So if it has 2 or 3 images of my face, when I'm trying to unlock my camera, my phone, the new face that it gets on the camera of the phone, it kind of matches that. However, FaceNet has its own set of drawbacks. Every technology would have its limitations. FaceNet also has its own set of limitations. Of late, even iPhone had to accept the fact that identical twins do not get picked up properly. The phone can be unlocked if we have a high-end face mask of the owner of the phone. Things like that, kind of challenges to it. Now, other examples apart from the image, in the world of image, is the voice recognition, the hot word detection kind of stuff. Hello Alexa, okay Google, and a few examples of it. Very popular examples as such. You have the Hello Alexa set of commands where you can play music. You can or the okay Google for that matter, Google Assistant as we call it for that matter, on your phone or on a separate device itself, where you can verbally say commands and Google does it for you. Typically, I have a friend who uses a combination of IoT, so it's typically possible that you open up your Google Assistant on your phone and say open the door. So the door of your house gets opened. So basically, how it works is the voice recognition identifies a keyword that you said and identifies what it has to do. A facial recognition identifies that it was your voice. I mean, double checks that it was your voice and your face in front of the phone, and confirm that it's you who wants to unlock the door. And then uses IoT to Internet of Things to send the command on a device that unlocks the door over the internet to the door, a device on the door that unlocks the door. So next time, instead of using a key, you could actually use a phone to unlock your door and step in. Uh, Typical use cases would be, so you don't have to go and have to reach your home to turn on your AC. So probably during the summer you want the room a little cooled before you can step into your home in the evening. You could probably use something like this to turn on the AC of your room and before you enter the room. Language translation, Google Translate, for example, is another example of artificial intelligence being used. Voice to text conversion is a very strong use case. However, it's not you know picked up that much in Indian context. In American and European context, there is a lot of use cases. In Indian context, it's not been that effective. Anyone using text to voice conversion tools, even in the basic ones like Windows, would know that the conversion doesn't happen very, unless you talk with a very Americanized accent. These are companies that are using uh, uh, a concept called recommendation system. What is a recommendation system? If you go to any of these sites like YouTube, Amazon, Flipkart, uh, you'll have once you select something, a product, or in case of YouTube, a video, you get a lot of recommended videos. Google News also gives you a lot of recommended news depending on the news that you have selected. So there are two types of uh, approaches. Uh, one is based on the content. Another approach is based on the user. So typically, if I see a violence-related movie in YouTube, or similar violence-related things come up. If I am seeing a horror movie, horror movies come up. Uh, so basically, all horror movies are coming up in the recommendation. Uh, the second is approach is based on users' preference, users' viewing patterns. So example is every time I buy a shirt, I also buy a very matching tie to go along with the shirt. So Amazon or Flipkart or Myntra uses this behavioral pattern of me, and every time I'm selecting a shirt, a tie gets recommended. Uh, Modern day approach is using a combination of both, which is called a hybrid system, to recommend what would be the next possible view. Surprising fact is for most successful online, the big names in online world, their recommendation system today is actually generating 60 to 70% of their revenue. So think of it, you as a data scientist or a data analyst sitting on developing the recommendation system could tell your chief marketing officer, bro, you do only 30% or 40% of the sales. I do, was 60 or 70% of the work. So that's the kind of role today data scientists command and play in the in the world. These are very basic examples. Something that we come across every day and every minute, and these are like uh, but this unknowingly we do not know this, but it's actually artificial neural network and artificial intelligence that is working in the back end. Uh, if This is a screenshot of three taken from three different browsers, wherein we are trying to not browsers, search engines, where we are trying to type in what we want to search. Uh, if you remember a few slides back, we talked of recurrent neural networks, which in context gives you the next what comes next kind of predictions. These kind of neural networks are being used to predict what you are going to willing to type in. Okay, so what you are going to type in next uh, is kind of predicted based on what you're typing in, and these are very dynamic, and actually this is the competition between the search engines. The success and failure of search engines actually depend on how better I am able to predict your requirement. This video is of a Tesla self-drive car. uh, Tesla is not the only company that does self-drive cars, but Tesla is probably the first company to get a US approval where the mandate is the driver has to be present, but he doesn't have to be holding the steering all the time. So basically, you can map your route, let the car drive you to your destination, and you not have to worry. So that's exceptional case of implementation of artificial intelligence. It uses a combination of artificial intelligence, neural networks, cloud computing, and a whole lot of things. Uh, uh, and a lot of uh, a lot of computers, microcomputers or mini computers, are placed all around the car, along with cloud computers and servers being used at the cloud locations. So that's how it achieves this. This is a program that's again being used in China. It's what it does is it tries to identify missing children. Typical example of challenges faced in trying to identify missing children is even in countries like India. You'll see in traffic signals, junctions, uh, children being used in begging and all that stuff. But what happens is if you cannot wait and call the NGO to come or the police to come and check the uh, children there, see the images and find out all that stuff. A quicker option would be to use artificial intelligence based cameras that would automatically detect the child. One challenge is in this case of using artificial neural networks or artificial intelligence is the face of the child excuse me, face of the child changes over time, uh, to certain amount, not exactly entirely, but this is an use case of uh, Baidu, the Chinese equivalent of Google of the world, being used along with the Chinese government, where they are able to identify a lot of missing children who had gone missing for years and bring them back home. Uh, a lot of countries, including United Nations, is trying to build and develop something on similar lines for the rest of the world. Probably we in India also probably someday would have something similar to this.